Today's topic, it's a battle. The solo K versus the SEP IRA. Two fantastic accounts. One we really love, one we usually try to fix for one obvious reason, which we'll cover in the video, so stay tuned. But two very common accounts, especially in the physician world, really anyone self-employed, any 1099 income. These are likely your two front runners on, hey, I want to take advantage of an extra retirement plan contribution. I heard about this solo K, I heard about this SEP IRA. For whatever reason, it seems like most accountants lean more towards the SEP IRA, probably because it's a little bit easier. Deadlines as well. Solo K can be a little bit more complicated, but also gotten much easier. We are going to walk through the pros and cons of both of these to allow you to decide which one's best for you. We'll also give you a little nudge in the right direction too, if we can, at least based on what we see with our clients day in and day out. But stay tuned. That's all coming up next. We got the SEP IRA versus the solo K battle for the ages of retirement planning. All right, first in the ring, we got the solo K. You're probably familiar with the term 401k just from employer plans. The solo K is meant for self-employed individuals that have 1099 income. Key is no employees, or if the only employee is your spouse, you're still okay here. So think of it as a retirement plan that is only built for just you. Solo 401k. Old school name was the COG plan. So solo K, very unique setup. My favorite thing, I'm going to give it away at the start of the video. We know that's a bad YouTube thing. We're going to watch our engagement plummet after this. But solo K, the biggest benefit from our side of it and why we prefer the solo K over the SEP IRA is the solo K will not affect your backdoor Roth IRAs. If you've watched our videos in the past or read any of our blog posts, the SEP IRA is included in the total aggregate of IRA balances. So when you try to do backdoor Roth IRAs, it pretty much destroys them with what we call the pro rata rule. Solo K does not do that. So that's why we are bigger fans of the solo K. Now, with that said, it's not perfect. So we're going to walk through some pros, some cons. One big thing here to lead with too, contribution limits. I'll use 2023 numbers. If you're watching this and it's now 2024 or a future year, just kind of Google the most current numbers here, but you can get up to $66,000 into the solo K. One of the more unique aspects of the solo K is it allows both employee and employer contributions, meaning that you could put up to $22,500 as the employee, but then also a profit sharing function, you could get another $43,500 in there. For that, I always say the simple rule for me is always, if you look at your Schedule C, look at your net profit, take 20% of that number. That's usually the easiest way to see how much you're gonna get in there. You gotta subtract out self-employment tax. There's a little bit of a calculation there, but it's not too difficult. There's also some good online calculators. If you're over the age of 50, you also get the catch-up, which is currently $7,500. Again, always keep an eye on the current year's numbers. I'm using 2023 numbers now, but there's your intro to the solo K. Let's also hit some pros and cons here to keep in mind with your solo 401k plan. Let's cover some of the pros from the solo 401k. So first one, I've already kind of hinted at it on the last section there, higher contribution limits. The solo K can allow you to really crank in some serious money into that solo K plan. And if you're watching this video and you have very good 1099 income, you can also pair this up with a defined benefit plan, and all of a sudden you're getting your $66,000 into your solo K. And again, it depends on your numbers. There's a calculation, we bring in actuaries, but you can get another 6 figures into a pre-tax defined benefit plan. So keep that in mind, but if you pair these up together and you build them together, you can really crank away a lot of money on the pre-tax side. Tax deduction. So if you're doing pre-tax, which I'll cover next in number 3 here on the pros, but for most physicians, I hope you're probably doing pre-tax here. There's a lot of reasons. Maybe there's some unique circumstances, but for the most part, high earner years, accumulator years, we're likely trying to take advantage of everything pre-tax that we can. If you're getting the solo K with a corporate tax return, one of the unique things is you can split the benefit. The employee portion would go to you on the personal side, where the employer side would also have a benefit on the corporate tax return then. If you're just self-employed, straight Schedule C coming through there, you take both of those on your personal tax return. But again, good tax benefits here, because no matter what you're putting away, assuming you're doing pre-tax and not Roth, you're going to get the benefits on the tax side as well, which is why we love this conversation. And then the third benefit here is you can really customize these. Now, there's some cookie cutter models out there. There's some very complicated models out there. I mean, you can set these up so that you're building them in to only do mega backdoor Roths every year. Some you're only getting as much pre-tax as you can. Some models will allow Roth contributions, some will not. So keep that in mind. Last check, Fidelity would not allow Roth in their basic plan. I believe Vanguard did. I believe Schwab does as well. Double check. A lot of these are changing pretty quickly. So keep an eye on that. Also, just on like loan provisions, sometimes loan provisions won't be built in there. I know this one for sure on the Fidelity side, on their general solo K, there's no loan provisions in there. So sometimes you got to go out of your way to customize these. So just keep that in mind when you're building these. They're extremely flexible, which is certainly a pro, but make sure it's checking all the boxes you need. Are you looking for Roth? Are you going to have to take a loan? Are you trying to get more into it in terms of, hey, I want to build this properly so that I get more on the defined benefit side? Whatever the case would be, make sure you know that coming into it, because you don't want to set this all up and then you realize you don't have the flexibility that you wanted. But these can be very customized. They are very flexible on how you build them, or you can stick very, general cookie cutter model, but you can really build these out in a nice way. All right, some of the downsides with a solo 401k. First up, can't have employees. Now, again, if your spouse is your only employee, you're safe there. But the first downside is you have to be truly self-employed, or if you have a corporation set up, it's just you, right? There's no employees. Now, if those employees are contractors, you're okay here too, but you're more worried about W-2 employees in this example, but can't have any employees. Again, you get a little bit of leeway there if your spouse is employed. There are additional requirements in terms of filing requirements and maintenance. Now, the good news is this does not kick into over $250,000. So once you go over $250,000 in your solo K, you do have an extra form that you have to submit. Another big thing that I note here, sometimes when individuals get these set up, they'll list their social. But what you really should do is you should actually go get a tax ID number, an EIN number. And that way you can put it in there, because once you are filing this extra form, which is the form 5500 easy, it's going to make it a lot easier for you by having that actual tax ID number. So just keep that in mind. And then last but not least, this one is missed quite a bit as well. Substantial and reoccurring. So substantial and reoccurring is one that we're going to list here on the con side, but you have to make sure you're making consistent contributions. The IRS considers consistency 3 out of 5 years. Substantial depends, right? What's your income from the business? Is it $1,000? Well, substantial could be $500. That's 50% of your profit, right? If it's 100,000, you're putting $100 in there. Maybe they argue that, but again, with anything IRS based, you kind of need these case studies where the IRS finally gives you like context on what that means, and we just don't have that yet. So remember, substantial and continued, right? You're continuing to put those in there. This is one that's missed quite a bit, where someone will open up a solo K, but then they don't make any contributions after that. The IRS has noted that is one where they want the plan shut down. This has also been listed on the IRS watch list on something they plan to come after. They just hired a whole new army of agents that are supposed to be coming out on this giant witch hunt here. They have noted that this will be something they're keeping an eye on if someone's just kind of setting up these solo Ks but not really doing anything with them and not really maintaining them with more contributions and regular contributions. All right, enter the ring, the SEP IRA, which every time I go to say SEP, I forget the words that I want to put in there. It is Simplified Employee Pension. And we see SEPs quite a bit, but I still can never memorize those 3 words. So Simplified Employee Pension is what a SEP IRA is. SEP IRA still has those same contribution limits of the $66,000, but it's a different calculation. It's based on 25% of your compensation. So if you're good at math, you need to be paying yourself at least $264,000, 25%, to get the $66,000 in there. Now, one of the reasons why we like the solo K a little bit better here is because, again, you can break down those contributions, that $22,500, which does not have any calculation to it. No calculation. So if you're just doing the math alone, like let's just say you had $30,000 of salary, you could still get your full $22,500, assuming you didn't use that somewhere else, because that's a once and done bucket. You could put that into your solo K, but on the SEP, it doesn't work that way. You'd have to take your $30,000 times 25% to get that number in there, which is going to be a dramatically smaller number. So just keep that in mind with the SEP. But with the SEP, the nice thing is here, you also can have employees. The downside to that is it has to be uniform in terms of contribution. So if you give yourself a 25% contribution, Freddie, your employee, getting 25%. Susie, your other employee, getting 25%. Now, I assume their salaries are maybe a little bit lower than yours, but regardless, you got to put it in for everyone. And that's one of the unique things with the SEP IRA. And I know I ruined my mojo at the start, but the biggest downside, in my opinion, at least working with physicians, is the SEP IRA will blow up our backdoor Roth IRA. That's the main reason why we don't love the SEP IRA. But there's your intro to the SEP. Same breakdown. Let's hit some pros, let's hit some cons, and then by the end of this, you can make your decision on which way you're going. All right, let's go through some pros for the SEP IRA. So first up, again, contribution limits. Anytime you can crank away $66,000 pre-tax, that is a win in your book. Remember, your magical number based on current 25% comp is $264,000. So that's your sweet spot there. There's flexibility in the contributions. When you set up a 401k plan, let's say you add in like a safe harbor match or something of that nature, you got to get money into that. You got to have some flexibility. Now, I would say with a solo K, you don't have those same requirements, right? You still have good flexibility in there. But one of the unique things about this, because you can have employees, you do have good flexibility. Solo K, it's not really a concern, but let's just say you have a few employees and you set up a traditional 401k plan. If you add a safe harbor type of match, you got to hit that number, right? So there's not as much flexibility there. But on the SEP IRA side, you have flexibility. Bad year in the business, you can only do 4% to yours, 4% to the employees. Good year in the business, you're cranking away 25%, you're happy to put 25% away for the employees. Zero, keep it at zero. So it gives you some good flexibility in there. Another big benefit here, and I think this is why we see this a lot from the accountant side. Accountants seem to be more proactive on the SEP IRA. One, it is a little bit easier to open up, right? You can go to Vanguard, Fidelity, and have one opened up pretty quickly and really make the contribution almost that same day. So if you're up against a tax deadline, this is likely going to get your seal of approval. But the deadlines can be a little bit more proactive in terms of after year end. You have more flexibility on that 25% compensation, where on the solo K, if it wasn't opened up before the end of the year, you lose the employee side of it. So that's why it can affect the contribution. So you have more flexibility here on the SEP IRA. And with any type of benefit, any good employee benefit, this is a great account to entice quality talent to your establishment, to your practice. And the main thing is here, there's no vesting. So as soon as you put that money in there, it's their money. There's no vesting schedule. So employees could really like that. I would argue the opposite in terms of being a business owner. On the 401k side, it's nice to add in maybe a certain vest schedule or even a wait period, a 1 year wait until you can get into the 401k plan, just in case there's always some early turnover sometimes that you can remove that there. One of the downsides with the SEP IRA that I'll also plug in here is the employee can't put any money into it. So that's kind of a pain in the butt. This is why every now and then you'll see something called a simple IRA pop up. But if you put in 10% for your employee, they can't put anything in. It's only your contribution. So that's another unique thing with the SEP IRA. But those are the cons that we'll cover here on the SEP IRA. I'm sorry, the cons, the pros. We're on the pros. These are all good things. These are all good things for the SEP IRA. SEP IRA downsides, and I kind of hinted towards one of these already as we ended that last one, but uniform contributions. So this is one that I've noted really throughout here is it could be a good thing or a bad thing, but if you put in 25% for you, every single employee is also getting 25%. So you have to keep it uniform. I just noted this at the end of the last one. Employees cannot contribute. So no matter how badly they want to, they cannot put any money into the plan. So they're getting capped out at whatever you're putting into the plan. Over the age of 50, no catch-up contributions. Kind of this weird thing with the SEP IRA that doesn't really actually make 100% total sense because pretty much every other retirement plan has some form of a catch-up contribution. Solo K was at $7,500 over the age of 50, but for whatever reason, they just don't have that in these other plans here with the SEP IRA. So that's one that is missing. Other things to note, just some little things here to end. No loans could be a good thing. I don't really want you taking loans from your retirement plans, but if you needed it and it's emergency, you don't even have that option here. Now, as I noted for the solo K, you got to make sure when you build your solo K that you even can add that option in there because some solo Ks won't allow that either. But SEP IRAs do not allow loans. And then the other thing is here, you got to make some pretty good change to max it out, right? You have to make $264,000 per year at 25% to get in the full $66,000. So you got to be making some good money here to be able to max this out. But even there, if you're still getting, let's just say this is a side gig and you have $100,000 of 1099 income and we just keep it super simple, 25%, $25,000. $25,000 into a SEP IRA, in addition to hopefully you maxing out another 401k plan, not too shabby. Not too shabby. So those are the cons, both fantastic accounts. They each have their pros and cons to them. Again, I always lean a little bit more towards the solo K, mostly because I'm just trying to protect my number one baby, the backdoor Roth IRA. And there you have it. Two juggernauts going at it. SEP IRA versus solo K. I still am saying the solo K is the winner strictly for one reason only. The backdoor Roth IRA. But both are great plans. If you're sitting there and you're saying, well, what the heck do I do with this SEP IRA if I want to start doing backdoor Roth? You can, and you still have 1099 income, you can open up a solo K and then roll in that SEP IRA. You might be able to roll in that SEP IRA to an older 401k plan or maybe your current 401k plan, but then the 1099 income is coming from a side gig. There's a lot of ways to get that organized. So don't think that you're trapped and you can never do a backdoor Roth IRA. That's something we fix quite a bit when new clients come to us. So there's a lot of ways to work that. But two great plans. Make sure you understand your pros and cons. I think the biggest thing with a solo K is make sure you understand when you build it what the limitations of the plan could be. Can you add in Roth? Can you take loans? What rules are you going to put in place there? And then also with the solo K, do you plan to hire employees soon? If you do, maybe you want to look at a more traditional 401k platform or that SEP IRA, or one that we didn't really cover in here is that simple IRA. So lots of great pros, some cons mixed in there as well, but two great accounts. Hopefully you learned a lot here. Hopefully you have a good idea of what you're looking at now when you see the solo K versus SEP IRA. As always, thanks for hanging out with me for the last 15 minutes or so here. If you've not subscribed to the channel, now's a good time to subscribe. If you click on this little bell icon, you also get a notification every time we release a new video. Thank you again for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you on the next video.